Good news, everyone! I'm back with another review, and I'm starting a video not saying okay. As I reviewed the channel, I realized that I kind of start every video the same way, so I want to bring a little bit of different energy to each video. Maybe eventually, I know a lot of YouTubers have like a go-to kind of phrase to start off and end each video. I'll find it eventually. You know, we're working our way through it. I'm feeling the vibes. I'm having a pretty good day. Today I'm coming with you with an album review suggested to me by a commenter on the very first video on this channel, under the Mother Grief Chapter album review, which is still my favorite album of the year currently. I would say go hit that album up if you haven't heard it. It's like indie pop rock. I guess you consider it under alt pop is the genre that main genre that come to my mind when I think of the album. Bit somber in tone, but mostly like written tone, but like most of the album is more upbeat instrumentally, so I think that evens it out for me. This commenter, at the name of Silly Nep, suggested an album called Eye to the Ear by Cosmo Sheldrake. It took me kind of a second take to go ahead and write this down. I'm starting a new method to these reviews where I'm going to start taking some more physical notes, or if I'm at home, putting some digital notes on my computer or something like that, just taking notes during the listens. During the first like 6 or 7 songs of this album, I didn't. But I did review the songs a bit before going into the review today. I finished the album completely today. It's my second time picking it up. I listened to the first 7 or 8 songs, then paused, and then came back to it because it is a 21-track album. So it's kind of long. It's like about an hour long. Typically, I consider a sweet spot for album listens to be like roughly 30 to 50 minutes to ride out all in one listen. 30 to 45 is my gold sweet spot, honestly, to just ride it out in like a car ride or in your headphones if you're at home and finish it all out without having to pause. There are exceptions to the rule for me, like Kendrick Lamar's Butterflies, like an hour and a half, a little bit over that, but it's an amazing album. Some deluxe albums people make, like I'll like the original standard edition, and then I'll go back to the deluxe and kind of just skip straight to the deluxe songs. If they're good enough, maybe eventually in the future ride them all the way out. But today we're talking about Eye to the Ear by Cosmo Sheldrake. Took me a second to kind of have the name cemented in my head, but the album, I talked about talking and addressing album art on this channel more, and I'll talk about the art for this album first, because that's what struck me when I went to go look it up and like kind of reference it for a future listen on this channel and like talk about it. The album art is so weird. It's like a bunch of strings of like eyes and ears and like I think a nose, like just in like big stalks on the album. It's a bit unsettling. It's a bit odd when I first go into it, but I love odd music. I love weird stuff. I love trying out almost anything. Even like I don't like country, but I'll give anything a shot. At least once, you know, music wise, especially. Like I hated Death Grips growing up, and now I love them. So it kind of takes. I believe in letting things grow on you, you know. And I did generally like this album. So my first time notes on it that I have kind of condensed down today, I'll go over is that I stopped the album around track 6 or 7, so my notes kind of start there, and then I'll kind of address the album as a whole as we go on. I started back today at the song Breathe Around Corners. I loved that I picked it up today because it's such a rainy day and it's been such a somber day, very, very quiet. Everybody's kind of camped out in their house. Everybody's kind of low key, and this album definitely has the tone for that. There's 2 main singers that I can identify throughout the album. There may be more. One with a more feminine type vocal, one with a more masculine type vocal, and there are songs later like "Shiny as the View." My main note there was that synchronicity in the 2 vocalists. I love. I love shit like that. Dance Gavin Dance is a band I go to often on like kind of older comfort listens for that, because they'll have the screamer and the singer, or sometimes even the guitarist harmonize over each other, saying different lyrics or saying lyrics in tandem with each other. And I love the energy that songs like this bring. But yeah, this album is very somber, very low key. The album itself is a bit unsettling in some areas where I'm like, oh, there was some weird sounds going on there, but I can't say I didn't like it. I did like it. From Breathe Around Corners, like a song or 2 after, I think it might be the next song, it cut into Run, which is a goofy beat. It felt like a weird turn for the album. I will say the album honestly doesn't really pick up for me until Old Ocean, which is one of my top songs in the album. For me, it goes like the intro, which is an instrumental track. There's a few instrumental tracks sprinkled in between the album. I think like 3 or 4 out of 21. So yeah, 16 or 17 actual, I'm not gonna say actual, 16 or 17 vocalized tracks, 4 or 5 instrumental tracks, intermittently cut between. Since I picked it up like after track 6 or 7, I was honestly picking it up around the point where I was really getting back invested after the intro in Old Ocean. Yeah, so my next note on here, sorry for the pause. My next note on here is that from Old Ocean on, I liked the album more. I kind of covered that. Bird Sounds and Once a Child, the song Once a Child, I just put Chef's Kiss. I love implementing little tiny tidbits of sound that you don't really need in an album. It wouldn't typically be considered needed, but is a good addition to like on revisits, or if you're somebody's really honed in on production like I am. Like I catch like editing in bird noises or editing in like splashing water or stuff like that, and I was like, oh, this is so very beautiful and rich. It's a very, very detailed album, and I really appreciate that about this album. I would say the overall genre in general, I haven't really addressed that yet, would be like indie singer-songwriter, electronic in some points, very not like EDM level, but like electronic editing in the way the songs are delivered. It's hard to pin this one down. I'll have to give it like another listen or two, but it's a weird one, and it does stick with me for that reason. I talked about Shiny as the View. By hitting the kind of the last third of the album, Florist Pond is really pretty, I think. It's one of the prettier instrumental tracks. There are a few on here that I would cut, and I'll kind of cover that in a second. The album felt metaphysical to me in a general sense, like just in the vibe, and as someone who has studied and looked into green witchcraft and like have family members who are into magic, like magic with the K, in my life, and like learned about that and Wiccan experiences and religion and studies through family members. The second I said that to myself, I was like, this album feels like a metaphysical type vibe. The song Interdimensional comes up, which was one of the weirder ones production-wise, but became quickly one of my favorite songs on the album. And then my last note for like taking direct notes after how I felt like as the album was ongoing was what a good outro, damn. Which, yeah, I mean, I would say the perfect flow of this album to me, honestly, would be to cut the songs Stop the Music, Marvelous Clouds, I Did and I Don't and I Do, 3:30, and Stopping It, and Snapping of Shrimp, I believe is what it was called. Yeah, so I'd cut those 5, which after those cuts would bring the track listing down to 16 songs. I'm not typically someone who like likes really long albums. I will listen up to like 20, like up to 30 track albums depending on the art. I'll at least give it a shot once every time, you know. But sometimes I will start skipping around the track listing if it does feel kind of monotonous, or feel like themes are repeated that shouldn't be, or it feels like I'm halfway through a song or like a minute and a half into a song and I know I'm not going to enjoy the rest of it just by the tone of how it's set. That did happen once or twice through this album. I would say the only song that really hit me where I started skipping when I hit it was Snapping at the Shrimp. When I made it like 30 seconds in or so, 30 seconds a minute in, I was like, I don't think I'm gonna like this track. And that's okay. Everybody has their own vibe, you know. The rest of this album I honestly liked. It hit me for a second that like I would have to revisit it in its whole before I could decide which ones I would really like out of context. But like in playlist, or like just go into that track and listening to. But the ones I can for sure say I would pick out to be like, go listen to this song if you want a generalized idea of how this band sounds, is Old Ocean, which gives that, it's one, from my look at it, was one of the singles. It does kind of give that oceany, cavernous vibe that a lot of this album kind of gives. It's a very open sound. Florist Pond is a good instrumental example. That's 2 with Old Ocean. Interdimensional is one of my highlights. I put it on my faves of all time list already, along with Florist Pond. And Does the Swallow Dream of Flying, which was the final track. Yeah, I put Interdimensional, Florist Pond, and Does the Swallow Dream of Flying on my faves of all time playlist, because they were just so peaceful and gave me the vibe of if I was having like an anxiety attack or having a bad day and the song came on shuffle, it would calm me and it would just be such a soothing mood. And that is something that's gonna have me return to this album for that reason of that vibe. It's like sometimes you just need that soothing mood. And I think when I started this album the first time, it just wasn't the right mood for it. So that gives me the consensus that I do need to revisit it. Yeah, that's I kind of burned through a lot of my notes here pretty quickly. Faster than I wrote them, honestly. But what I will say is, thank you, Silly Nep, for recommending this album. I don't think I ever would have heard it without your recommendation. I did end up enjoying it. Out of like a 5-star rating, I'd give it like a 4 out of 5. I need to revisit it when I'm in the mood to like have that kind of. I know the mood it sets now, and I'm happy to go back to it now with that mood in mind and like embodying that mood and be like, okay, this is what I want for the day. This is like if another rainy day pops up again, like it's been spring recently, or if like I'm feeling kind of solemn, taking a bath, and I'm like, okay, I just want some good background music to like mellow out to. This album feels like I'm really gonna start getting enriched in the production when I do my revisits, which I'm really excited for that. Thank you so much for making this recommendation. Please subscribe to the channel if you like it, if you like album reviews, if you're enjoying me and this content. Send some suggestions around if you feel like there's anybody else who would like stuff like this, and please put your own recommendations in the comments. I would love to have more albums that pop up like this where I never would have heard otherwise but end up enjoying, or even ones I don't end up enjoying. I feel like if I don't enjoy a full project, there's artists that I just don't like as their sound, but I end up with songs over time that I feel like they make that fit the sound I like. And I feel like that can happen with any artist. Like, you might be like, I don't like this person, but I like this song. And I'm happy that this wasn't one of those cases. This ended up being like a happy surprise where I went into it and I was like, okay, this album looks a little weird. I'll give it a shot, but I do like weird shit anyways. So I was kind of excited to get a weird recommendation, or at least like on the visual of like just looking at the album art, being like, okay, this looks a little odd, but I'm happy this is one of my first ones because I really wanted to dip into responding to the comment suggestions. So yeah, that's what I plan on doing on more. Whenever somebody throws one out, I'm going to try to get to all of them. I'm probably going to have 2 videos out this weekend. I'll have this one out on Friday, and then I should have the album that I pick to review out this week, Saturday or Sunday. You'll see that when it uploads, and I'm gonna try to keep that for a weekly schedule of at least 1 video every weekend. If I get a suggestion for an album, 2 videos a weekend. So to look forward to that. I love y'all. Take care of yourself. Take care of your moms. Take care of your dads. Take care of your family. And get yourself a gay little coffee today. Bye.